Hi, my name is SALMA binti Muhammad FAJARIATUDIN and I am the first interviewer.
Hello, my name is SYAHIRAH binti Muhammad YAZID and I am a second interviewer.
Hi, my name is BATRISYIA and I will be the third interviewer for this interview session.
So our special guest for today's interview is Encik Muhammad Fairuz Razali, the Head of Product Digital Innovations from PETRONAS Dagangan Berhad. The reason why we choose Encik Muhammad Fairuz as our interviewee is because PETRONAS is one of the largest company in Malaysia. Since its incorporation, PETRONAS has grown to be an integrated international oil and gas company with business interests in 35 countries. PETRONAS provides a substantial source of income for the Malaysian government, and PETRONAS also has contributed approximately 1 to 8.5 million ringgit to various COVID-19 relief efforts. PETRONAS is also one of the company which is close to our heart. Moreover, Encik Muhammad Fairuz is majored in information technology. It is hard to comprehend how much IT pervades and influences our daily life. IT plays a vital role in today's personal, commercial and not-for-profit users. In its simplest term, IT is the application of computers and other electronic equipment to receive, store, retrieve, transmit and manipulate data. Organizations cannot exist today and expect to stay competitive without adequate information technology system.
PETRONAS ICT is on a transformation journey to becoming a world-class ICT organization. Given this, we have a dynamic workforce of leaders and professionals who are passionate in what they do, and they give their very best on a daily basis to provide mission-critical, innovative and secure IT systems, solutions and services to PETRONAS.
Encik Muhammad Fairuz has inspired us a lot. To become a head of product at a very young age is such an amazing achievement. We also chose him as our interviewee is because of his educational background and working experience that will be explained by Sharmaine later.
Mr. Fairuz took a Master of Engineering at Westphalia University in Germany. He furthered his studies in Master of Science, Engineering, Industrial Management starting from 2012 until 2014 at University Technology Malaysia. He then pursued his Master of Business Administration at Meiji University for 2 years until 2016. Mr. Fairuz is currently the head of product in the Digital Innovation Department at PETRONAS and has been working there for 3 years. He started working at a young age as a downstream engineer at BP, which is an oil industry company, for almost 1 year, where he constructed and implemented model for the improvement of the BP downstream refinery sub-plant in the crude oil production line. He was once a technical researcher who conducted research at the Westphalia, Germany in the area of sensor networks for the state's solar panel power plant for almost 1 year. He then went to work for Green Packard Berhad as a telecommunications software engineer for 20 months. He also been at Nokia as a system analyst and system verification manager. And lastly, he once worked as a project manager at 11th Street.
Would you mind to briefly introduce yourself?
Ken, thank you very much, Salma, Syahirah, and Sharmaine, for inviting me. I hope that I can offer some of the information that you need and then try the best that I can. My full name is Muhammad Fairuz Razali. I'm from Perak. I was born in Ipoh. My primary school is in Perak as well. My secondary school is in Negeri Sembilan, in boarding school. After I finished my SPM, I went to Germany to further my study in electrical engineering. I completed Masters in Electrical Engineering from Germany after 5 years. After then I work over there in British Petroleum, BP, as production engineer. I worked there for 2 years. After that, I come back from Germany. I worked for P1 Network as telco engineer, as a software development engineer. and while I was there, I've been stationed to a few countries. One of it was US in Virginia, United States. After I think few years I worked for P1, I jumped to Siemens Network. Then after that, at the same time, I do my part-time master's in electrical engineering management from UTM. And at the same time, I do my MBA as well in Meiji University, Tokyo, Japan. I took a break from work and then further, complete my MBA in Japan, Tokyo, for 1 semester. After I come back, I work for Nokia, and I was stationed in Yangon, Myanmar, for about a year to establish their first private telco network. Because Myanmar was opening up to democracy at that time, and then Aung San Suu Kyi was being elected into government, so she opened more businesses externally outside of Myanmar. So we as corporate citizen helping Myanmar to build their telco network. I was responsible on building the infrastructure and the software telco side. Then I came back, and then I got an offer to join a startup called 11th Street under Axiata Group. Established 11th Street as a project manager since the beginning of the company until 2019, I think, until it grows to become the #2 e-commerce player in Malaysia after Lazada. Then I got an offer to PETRONAS as head of product. Now I'm a solution architect in PETRONAS under PETRONAS Dagangan Berhad. So in total, I have around 13 years of experience in digital transformation, and I have 3 master's degree in electrical engineering, engineering management, and MBA.
As you mentioned earlier that you have many career experiences, and also you have 3 masters, and so can you share with us about your work career experiences, and as well as your biggest achievements throughout your career?
My experience, I had been working with, I think, 5 or 6 companies already, mainly doing digital transformation and developing digital businesses. I started with BP in production engineer, then I moved to Malaysia and worked for P1 Network as software development engineer. Then I worked for Siemens, then I worked for Nokia, then I worked for 11th Street under Axiata, and then now I'm in BDB Petronas. My core capability, I would say, is building digital transformation and then developing digital businesses and startups. The second question is about the challenging portion of my challenge, achievement challenge.
Your biggest achievement throughout your careers.
Oh, biggest achievement. I think my biggest achievement would be there are many pockets of achievement that I made. I think in terms of what I find it rewarding, I think there are 2 or 3 things that I find it rewarding. Number one is that when I was stationed in Myanmar for 1 year, it was a very delicate time at that time in terms of geopolitically it's not stable. But we were sent over there to help as part of ASEAN community to build their telco network, and the first private one. Why I find it rewarding is that if you are working day in day out, probably because this is something normal to me, kan? But there's one scenario that struck me very much, is that when we had a dinner, I had a dinner with my friend dekat kedai Myanmar tepi jalan sana tu, sama je macam Malaysia tepi jalan, mamak. So that lady who was serving us was asking, "Hey, where are you coming from?" So we were saying lah, we both of us come from Malaysia. "Oh, what do you do over here?" "Oh, we work for Ooredoo." Ooredoo is like macam Maxis over there lah. Building a telco network over here. And then suddenly he was like, "Oh, thank you very much." He's an old lady, by the way. "Thank you very much, because having Ooredoo as a new network over there, it makes communication to her granddaughter very easily, because her granddaughter stays outside of Yangon, Myanmar. I mean, Myanmar is very big, and then her daughter actually worked outside of Yangon, and because she's old, and then she can't travel too far, and then the geopolitically is not stable in Myanmar. There are a lot of army over there. So because of us establishing all the connection network, probably you, maybe the new generation, feels that take it for granted, all the Maxis communication, 4G lah, 5G kan. But it was very hard at that time to have an internet connection. And because we have established she can have a video call with her granddaughter and with her daughter. And it's something touches our heart, because when we see back, for us, we see that as a business, but for a lot of people over there, sees it as a medium to connect to others. So I find it that touched my heart a lot, and then I find it very rewarding that we have enabled that to happen. That is number one. Number two, I joined 11th Street in 2015. I think 2015 korang pun, I think budak sekolah menengah lagi. I tak tahulah, probably. And online shopping was not a thing at the time. Just imagine that in 2014, 2015, nobody buy online. Not as now, kan? Everything is easy, kan? Just to give perspective, at that time, 2014, 2015, 95 to 97% of our transaction is mostly physical transaction. Only 3 to 5% is payment using online, meaning that the scale of the online business is very small. But at that time, Axiata has a vision that they want to broaden the online market, online commerce. So they established 11th Street, and then we were among the pioneers that not only establishing the company, but establishing the whole e-commerce landscape in Malaysia lah. And then the idea of buying online is very foreign masa tu, and then we had to convince a lot of people to buying things online, and nowadays it has become a norm dah lah. So those are the two things that I find biggest achievement in terms of very rewarding for me, that touches my heart personally.
So during this pandemic, it seems to be quite hard for us to meet each other in person, because majority of us will stay at home. And as I know that Petronas has a system where employees will take turns working from home and from office. Is it correct?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so Mr. Fairuz sometimes will be working from home. Am I right?
Yep.
All right. So I guess that there's quite a lack of chances for you to meet your colleague as well. So would you mind to tell us how did you and your team tended to communicate about work during this pandemic? Because there's a lack of face-to-face interaction. So how did you communicate with your colleagues?
Definitely, when we were asked to work from home in 2020 March, I think it's somehow very difficult for us now, because I'm a very people person. I like to communicate directly to people.
Yeah.
And then we move 100% online. I think number one, tools are very important. Luckily, we have already establishing some quite a number of tools like Microsoft Teams at that time. So Microsoft Teams has enabled us to do how to communicate during the pandemic. I think that helps a lot. Because of that, I don't see work-wise as an issue too much, but more on the mental well-being of the team. So what I do is normally I had a pulse check every week, just to make sure that the team work well together, just to casually chat about how they are they okay, probably play some games, because I find it when you work in silo, you kind of loss of touch, and then you somehow get stressed pretty easily. So that kind of, I mean, human being is a very people-oriented person. You need connection. So by doing that pulse check every week, I think that helps to release the stress, and then able to talk to a person more casually apart from work. I think that helps in terms of breaking the barrier between the team members.
So based on your experience working in COVID-19 pandemic, what are the challenges have you faced by using the virtual communication? Because like for us, since we are using virtual communication for our degree, we have faced a few challenges such as miscommunication with our group mates, and sometimes some of our group members did not even participate in the discussion. So in your experience, what are the challenges you have faced?
I think the biggest challenges that I foresee is miscommunication. I think when you talk to people, it's much more easier because you interact face to face. But during virtual, you only hear their voice. I think you, among a lot of people, knows that communication is not only about what you speak. It also comprises of the word, the tone, the body language, because the word itself is only account for probably less than 10% of the whole package, the communication spectrum, or the things that you want to say. When only words you hear, it bound to have a miscommunication. Because sometimes that the meaning of what you're saying is probably being interpreted differently to others, and to undo that miscommunication takes a lot of time, and make sure that we are aligned, because there are many cases that I've seen during this work from home, this pandemic, that even though you are in the same meeting, even though you are in the same room telling about the same thing, but a lot of people perceive it differently. And then it makes them make a different decision. So I think the challenge is how to align everybody to make sure that they receive the same messages from you.
as I know that some leaders may be or may not encounter difficulty in making decisions. So as a leader in your team, is there any difficult decision that you had to make as a leader, and how would you come to that decision? So would you mind to share with us your experiences while working?
I think difficult, as a leader, difficult decision is kind of normal that you need to go through. There are there are many decisions that you make on a daily basis, definitely. I think as a leader, you need to be mindful of that decision that you make. I think the most important aspect of how to handle that, bad news especially, is to handle it delicately, and you can't be emotional on it. Depends on the news itself. I think the outcome is just a byproduct of your thought process. I think what important here is that you need to make sure that the thought process of leading to that decision is structured. You're not making that decision based on a very vague thought process. I think that thought process need to be supported by fact, supported by clear objective, clear goal, so that whenever you say yes or no, especially no lah, people understand from where you're coming from. Bad news or good news is, I mean, you can't live only with good news. Bad news needs to have in order for you to sustain the business. But people appreciate if you say no. People appreciate why do you arrive, how come you arrive with that decision. I think that way people can empathize with you and then understand from the different perspective. I think that's what important, to avoid miscommunication, to avoid bad judgment, to avoid people seeing you in a bad manner.
We are gonna proceed to the last question because of the limitation of time. So yeah, because it's only 40 minutes for Zoom. So before we end our session for today, could you give a few advice on how to become a good and a great leader like you?
No, I'm still too far from a great leader. But my role model is, I have two role models, Simon Sinek and Tony Robbins. I always read books from them, especially Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek said that a true job of a leader is actually not, I mean, sustaining a business. The true job of a leader is taking care of those in our charge, taking care of your subordinate. That strikes me very much because that is your primary goal. So the way you upskill yourself, you need to make sure that your subordinate or your people that under your charge also gain benefits moving along with you, upskill them. I think if I, on top of my mind, a good leader or great leader needs empathy and leads with empathy and compassion. Put yourself in their point of view so that you can find the best way to help them. I think that's very important because every individual have a different background, different story to tell, different perspective. So how you elevate them and then make sure that you can unlock their potential. I think great leader able to unlock those potential maximally for them. Good leader also need to have direction and vision so that people under you know where you are going. This is very cliche, I would say, but more cases than not is that there's no direction from a leader. I've seen a lot of cases like that. So I think as a great leader, at least you need to know where you are going so that your team knows the orientation, knows the guidance where they want to proceed as well. And I think last, as a leader, you can't do everything by yourself. You need a team. You can't build a mountain only you, and you need a lot of team members. So what important is that you have to empower others so they also can grow in their own area and help the objective and the goal, help the cause of building it together.
A good leader must certainly inspire others. A leader must be a role model for his followers. Furthermore, he must motivate them whenever possible. Also, in difficult situations, a leader must not lose hope. To conclude, leadership is required in probably every sphere of life. Good leadership is the door to success. In contrast, bad leadership is a guarantee of failure. Consequently, good leaders are what make the world go around. So, we would like to thank you to Mr. Fairuz for attending our interview session for today. That's all from us. Thank you.